And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Bubba and the BatFlip, episode 136. Going to recap your Week 24 in the NFBC Online Championship FAAB as we do week to week for you here and get you ready for the upcoming final weeks of the season, listener questions, and more. You can check myself out on Twitter at BDentric and my co-host, as always, on Twitter at BatFlipCrazy. Toby, how we doing, man?
We're doing well, Bubba. I've got my Reds hat on today. Big Reds fan this week. 9 games.
It's not been fun for us yet.
I have Aquino everywhere, so the 2-run homer.
Well, that helped. There you go.
That helped out, and I got a lot of Pirates, and that's been better. So it's one of those times when you really try to take advantage of the 9-game weeks and the 8-game weeks, and trying to get as many people in there as possible. But we're close.
Yep, we're close. This last week, you had the 1 9-gamer. Like there's 3 8-gamers, and there's like 5 5-gamers. So you had some definite ways to differentiate and maximize at bats if you needed to. So if you took your time, you could have made quite the waterfall on bids this week, even just dollar bids to see where things landed. We'll get to our FAAB ads of the week, but I'm very bitter because there's one red that has been playing every day that has not played yet this week. I don't know if he played in game 2 of the doubleheader. I might have missed. I'll have to check while we're talking, but I am not happy with that FAAB acquisition so far. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that pretty soon, but I was thinking hopefully he plays some more because I'm not happy about that at all. But
who is it?
Donovan Solano. He's been playing. He was hitting like 3rd and 4th for like 2 straight weeks. And I don't know if he played in game 2 today, but he didn't play in game 1. He didn't play yesterday. And I'm like, You've got to be kidding me right now. Like, you've got to be kidding me. Out of all the weeks to do this is the week we're going to play this game. Thanks a lot. So, yeah. And trust me, that was just a desperation. Like, I want at bats, I want counting stats, I want stuff. That was the only reason he was getting dropped this weekend. There was no questions about it, but yeah, it is what it is. Fun times this year. And we're going to have much more of that to go because there's going to be pitchers getting short outings you don't know about. There's going to be random extra days off for guys. Like, there's going to be all kinds of goofy stuff down the stretch here. And we'll do our best to help you with that. But there's only so much in the crystal ball we can look at. So let's get at it. Let's talk about FAAB ads for the week. We've got a couple young guys, so they'll kind of steal the thunder for most added players this week, and we'll go from there. And the most added player this week was Hunter Brown in 146 leagues, as high as $267, as low as $1. He's the Houston Astros rookie pitcher. He's pitching pretty decently in the minor leagues. He's come up now, made a couple appearances for the Astros in his debut. He was outstanding. 6 innings, 3 hits, no run, 5 Ks against Texas. He made his second start tonight on Tuesday as we're recording. 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned, 6 more Ks in that matchup. So he's done pretty darn well in his 2 outings, Toby. I guess, if you got to look at it a little deeper, and I know we have a listener question on it later, but it's like, does he stick around? Verlander's just started throwing again, so I'd imagine to get 1, if not 2 more Brown starts just in that section of it. They have a 6-man rotation. They want to limp into the playoff with some of these pitchers. Verlander would take his spot, I would imagine, but it might be another week or 2. So what's your thoughts on Hunter Brown?
Yeah, I mean, he was up there on my list of guys, but I wasn't overly aggressive on him just because I do think from the sound of it, I mean, RotoWire on their grid has Verlander pitching on Sunday, and that's what I've heard rumblings of that happening. So that's what I was kind of banking on. So I really saw it as maybe 1 start, maybe 1.5 starts in case he gets the second one. He did pretty well in his first start. I think it's just a situation where you've got a pitcher for Houston who, and they're going up against the Tigers. So you got to like your chances of getting a win, at least more so than usual. So I think that's the impetus, but he pitched well. I haven't dove in, or I haven't dived in, whatever you do, dive or dove. Whatever that is, I haven't done that for this start today. But I guess we could do that pretty easily here just to see what he was able to achieve. But yeah, I liked him. He was up there on my bid list, but again, not super aggressive. Pitching is not a priority for me that much right now. In some spots. So he had 6 whiffs today on 82 pitches, a 34% CSW though. So yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
You nailed why I wasn't super in on him either. It's not that I didn't like him. It's kind of a combination of how long. And starting pitching is not the thing I was most concerned about these days. It was, if I'm going to get pitching, I'm going to load up on relievers for the coming weeks when we're going to need them compared to starters. And that's kind of where my focus was. I was more focused on getting bats and like Cincinnati guys, which we'll obviously talk about on this show. But yeah, starting pitcher wasn't the main focus for me. The kid looks good. He'll be a fun one to keep an eye on for DCs next year, because I don't know if he'll start in the rotation because they still will be pretty deep. I haven't looked deep into the free agency aspects of the Astros, obviously, but Hunter Brown's at least making a name for himself to have the conversation for 2023 for sure. All right, Josh Jung. This is a fun one. Picked up in 145 leagues, as high as 110. This is a guy that we thought when he was injured because it was the lockout. We didn't know about the injury. Then it comes out he's injured, and he has to have surgery. I think most of us wrote it off as he's done for the year. It was like a shoulder deal, pretty much labrum thing done. Well, he's come back. He rehab looked good, and he's been crushing it already out the gate. He had an RBI double on Tuesday night. He's now hit safely in 5 of 6 games with 5 extra base hits. Still strikes out a ton. That's a big thing with him. He strikes out a lot. But the power's legit, hitting in the middle of the Texas Rangers order. He's going to play every day, barring something stupid. So this was a good move if you needed it. I just didn't need corner infield help. That was the problem. He didn't fit in my rosters. We talked about it like in the last couple of weeks, that now you're at the point of the season, focus on the stats and the positions you need, not just the player, because he's a hot new commodity. That was the trouble for me with Josh Jung, but I think he's a hell of a player, and it's going to help somebody probably down the stretch here.
Yeah, I wasn't that into Jung either, or Young. He's good. I mean, he's got the prospect pedigree and stuff, like you mentioned. The strikeouts are an issue. His bat projection is 235 with 2 home runs and a stolen base in 71 plate appearances. So pretty much like rest of season. That's what they're anticipating him getting, which just isn't that. It's just not that great, and it could be that he gets hot. He's already got the 2 home runs. He's got a steal as well, which is really good. But as you mentioned, he's striking out 55% of the time, 429 BABIP. But it's small sample days. You know that when he has a 77.8% fly ball rate. Yep. He's gotten a couple barrels already, but, again, there are contact issues. Jeff Zimmerman had a tweet just highlighting like what his whiff rate is on sliders. So he's likely to see those, but he'll get ahead of him some counts, and some pitchers will make mistakes. So I wasn't overly aggressive on him. Again, I'm kind of playing the volume game, as you mentioned before, but I can see why people are excited. And it's oftentimes the rookies where you're not really quite sure what you're going to get, where people are more aggressive than they would be otherwise.
Yeah, 100%. It came down to certain team needs, and also like my budgets are getting low. So I want to. Some leagues I just couldn't save money, but if I could save money, I'm not spending it on Josh Jung right now. Unfortunately, like I like the guy. I was pumped. I tweeted it out too. I'm like on Friday. I'm like, look, I get to put him in my DCs because I drafted. As Ryan Bloomfield told me last Thursday, if you have Josh Jung on champion leagues, that means you have a drafting problem, because we found out about his injury in like January. So that means you have a November or December draft. Yes, guilty. I had a couple shares of him though, so I'm very happy to put him out there right now. That was the plus to it. All right, TJ, is it Friedel or Friedel? I feel bad for this.
I think it's Friedel.
Friedel. That sounds right. TJ Friedel picked up in 102 leagues as high as $33. I dug in on him a lot this week, and I know a lot of people liked him, and he was, he's available in not as many leagues as you think, because he's been hitting since August 1st, hitting 333 with 6 home runs, a stolen base, but 15 runs, 15 RBIs, striking out less than 15% of the time. He started leading off consistently over the last week or so for the Reds. They have the 9-game schedule coming up. This dude seemed like on paper, the best guy to add. You have the leadoff hitter, 9-game Reds schedule, swinging the bat well. Like, this guy needed to be 100% roster by the end of the week. Pretty sure he is now. But it's been a kind of slow go the last couple of days. People are already panicking. But I'm like, hey, we've seen the talent from him. I think it's a good move. And I think he's a guy, unlike some other Reds, like the Solanos and stuff, he might be worth hanging on to in certain formats, even after this week, the way he's playing, leading off for the Reds. So I like TJ quite a bit.
Yeah, he's a really good example, like to compare to Young, because when you look at him, like his bat projection, 256, 2 home runs, 1 steal, same number of run and RBI as Young, and that's in 63 plate appearances. For Friedel, we have a larger sample for him. He's kept the strikeout rate really low, so he's putting the ball in play. In 224 plate appearances, he's got 7 homers and 6 steals. So like, I'm not super good at it, but like 18, 19 home runs, 14 steals, something like that, over a 600 plate appearance season. That'll play. And with 9 games this week, and I think a pretty decent schedule, next week as well. Let's see. Yeah. Boston for 2, and then Milwaukee, but Milwaukee's not the same Milwaukee right now
No,
with
they're
their
not.
lineup. So, again, the 9 games, you kind of keep him. It's all right-handed pitchers next week too for Friedel, so that's a really good
Clutch.
bonus for him. So again, yeah, keep him through next week and, kind of figure out what to do from that point forward. But I really liked Friedel. Who was at the top of my list between him and Aquino, where I didn't already have Aquino, came down to like whether I needed the steals or not. Like if I needed home runs and RBI more, and I was Aquino. If I needed the steals more, I was Friedel.
Makes a ton of sense. Tons of sense. Trying to differentiate the two. It's all about team needs right now. And the thing is, if you, like you said, keep Friedel next week and then take it from there, taking it from there, you have about a week and a half to go. So it's like, it's just like, it's not like you're going to start pulling the pin on a lot of guys here. It doesn't matter. I think it might have been Jenstead and Erickson said it this week. I know we've talked about, a lot of guys have been talking about it, that pretty soon you just don't care about where that ADP, like you should have done it already. But you should not be caring about ADP now. Your lineup next week might look like the Bad News Bears if you thought about it back in April. Just it's what's working right now. It's all that matters. So you have to get the name back. Like there's a golf thing we use for like stats that you can block out the player's name so you don't have a bias. It's like a biasy mode. Mm-hmm. So all you see are the stats. And that way you can pick and choose based on just who is playing well, regardless if you think that guy's bad. That's how you just put like a paper over the left side of your screen and set the best roster you can for the week. All right. Like this guy, for instance, I have him everywhere in DCs because he was like my third shortstop, Elvis Andrews. The A's DFA'd him, and the White Sox, like what they say, is one man's trash, another man's treasure. The Chicago White Sox picked him up, and Elvis has been leading off for the White Sox since they added him on August 19th. Sit down if you're not yet. Elvis Andrews is hitting .293 with 5 home runs, 14 runs scored, 20 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, and like a 15% K rate. He had 2 more hits on Tuesday night. Like, this is the Elvis Andrews. Like, this might even be peak Elvis Andrews with the power we're seeing. This is crazy. What's going on? Sustainable? Who knows? Sustainable for 2.5 weeks? Possibly. So it's pretty wild to see what Elvis is doing right now, Toby. That makes him pretty much a must start, I think, in 12 teams and deeper for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned it. 13 home runs is his second highest total in his career, behind the 20 that he hit in close to 700 plate appearances in 2017. So just to give you a sense of how well he's playing, 13-9 on the year, 55 and 50. I mean, that's a little light, but still, I mean, definitely playable. Yeah. Every year you hope that you have like those 1 or 2 FAAB weeks that just go incredibly well. And last week was definitely one of those weeks for me. Picked up Andrews in my biggest league. And it was just beautiful to have him last week. I think they had 8 games. I think he hit at least 2 homers, had a steal, just scoring tons of runs at the top of that lineup. It was great. So, I mean, he's still Elvis Andrews. It hasn't changed, but again, like we're dealing with such small samples, you're just hoping you catch lightning in a bottle, and nobody's super good that's on the waiver wire, So you just run them out there and hope you get lucky, like you have the last few weeks.
Yep, cross your fingers and see where it goes, and it'll be cheap, and you drop them if you have to. But yeah, there's not a lot out there, especially in those deeper formats, like you said. So see what you can do. Like this next guy, for instance. This is where it goes back to the age-old conversation. Is a 2-start streamer worth streaming? That's the conversation I have. And Bailey Falter came into that discussion. 66 leagues, as high as $31. He had a 2-step this week. He had Miami on Monday, I believe, or Tuesday. He had tonight. He had Miami tonight, and then he had Atlanta at the end of the week, I believe. So not the easiest of schedules here for Bailey Falter. And on tonight's start, he went 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 4 Ks, got the dub. So that was a good one. He faced Miami last time out, 5 1/3. He's pitched well of late. I'll say that much. Strikeouts have been inconsistent, but overall, he's been pretty good. That Atlanta start terrifies me, though. If you guys look at splits for teams and just look like the last 30 days, you can go deeper if you want. They've been good all year. Just like look the last 30 days like I do for DFS. I wouldn't want to be a lefty against them, period. I don't care what lefty it is. They are destroying left-handed pitching. Now, Falter could literally fool them. Maybe they fault against Falter. Who knows? But
that was a good one.
Dad jokes all night. I got you. But I was not in on Bailey Falter. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I wasn't. He wasn't really available in most of my leagues in my 15 teamers. In a 12 teamer, it's a little dicey, but he did face Miami in his first start, and he's a left-handed pitcher, and Miami
Which is
just
the
sucks against left-handed pitchers. Yeah, and so Falter, just looking at his last 5 games, he's been pretty good. The walk rate has dropped considerably, which I think is really important. It's down at 2.6% over his last 5 games, and those are all starts. Swinging strike rate at 11.5%, K percentage at 22.6, O swing at 31.3, Z contact at 87%. So he's been about at or slightly above league average for for the last 5 games, and he's been pretty decent. So I think in 15 teamers you roll him out there because he's at least league average, if not better. Which is very startable in a 15 teamers, particularly with the 2 weeks and the Miami matchup. But he wasn't available in most of my leagues. But for people who were able to snag him in a 15 teamer, that's nice. In a 12, there's just a little bit limited upside. I don't know what his max for Ks was, as you mentioned. Like they've been a little hit and miss, but he did have one start with 8 Ks against Pittsburgh. He's had a few sixes. So decent.
Sixes, yeah. It seems like it's almost all or nothing. It's kind of disappointing when you're playing him against the Marlins, who do strike out a lot versus lefties, and he goes and gets 3 Ks. You're like, this was the one. This was the start. You're supposed to do this. Now you got to go up against the juggernaut in Atlanta to top it off. So, and you never know. Things can change. But at this point of the year, it's like early in the year, you can kind of take these gambles if you want, because you have time to fix your ratios. It's a double-edged sword. You have time to fix it, but you could also say, well, this time of the year, it's so like the guy has to get like destroyed to affect my ratios. Atlanta can do that, though. That's the only concern I have. That's the only concern. So we'll see. Hopefully, you guys that took your chances are successful. John Gray returned for the Texas Rangers, picked up in 60 leagues as high as $45. Made his return on Monday night in Miami. 3 2/3, 2 hits, no earned, no walks, 5 strikeouts as they kind of start extending him out, probably just to get him back to normal before the season ends. He was not available in any of my leagues, so I had no room to add him. But yeah, I get adding him, but just the whole thing is, if you need wins, probably not going to help you for at least a week, if not 2. And that's just where you have to start thinking, is it worth it to you? Can you afford to roster a guy that's legitimately going to have no chance at a W for you? That's tough.
Yeah, I think that was the major concern for me. He wasn't available in any of my leagues either, but or maybe he was available in one, but it's really tough to throw guys out there. Like that was my dilemma with Jeffrey Springs.
Yep.
Today. I have him in a bunch of leagues, and I started him in 2 of the 3, thankfully. He pitched really well, and I should have thought about this. He was pitching on the day of a doubleheader, so they Rays, they needed him to go deep, which made a lot of sense, and I hadn't really thought of that. That was a really good perspective. I would have started him everywhere if that was the case, if I knew he was going to get those 2. But if you just don't know if the guy's going to go 5, it makes the ceiling not that high and the floor super low. And especially now when I look at some of my leagues and the difference in ratio, it's like 4 or 5 points, for 0.05 ERA or 0.03 whip or something like that, So it's just, things can change pretty dramatically still pretty quickly. And so it's just a matter of trying to make those good decisions. And with Gray, there just seemed to be limited upside. I will say, just as a pitcher, I mean, he's been really good this year. He's definitely taken those steps forward. Like when you look across the board, he's got the lowest Z contact of his career, highest O swing of his career, highest first pitch strike of his career, highest K- walk rate of his career, highest swinging strike rate of his career. So across the board, we've seen those improvements, whether it's leaving Coors or the Rangers they have a decent reputation, I think, with pitchers. And so, he'll definitely be an interesting guy next year. He can't quite get healthy. He's hit 150 innings 3 times, and 0 times since 2019. So again, injury concerns, but definitely a guy who's taken a step forward this year.
No, I'm 100% with you. A guy that'll be worth targeting most likely next year. Again, he looked really, really good outside of those injuries. So hopefully he finishes strong. And this little start looked good. It's just limited pitch count as we all expected there. Man, when I saw the Jose Leclerc run this past week, I'm thinking, are we still in 2022? It's like flashbacks of when he actually was the closer for the Rangers, and he's back in the closing role for the Rangers. Added in 57 leagues, as high as $53. Leclerc has picked up saves in 3 of his last 4 outings. Gave up 1 run in the other outing and got the loss, but getting a couple strikeouts here and there. He's got 5 saves now on the year. He's been good, but it's still the same Leclerc method, though. You know, the ERA is good, the XFIP not so much, because he's not the most dominating strikeout guy. He's doing it right now, but he still walks a lot of guys. That's his biggest thing. So, you know, K to walks only around 16, 17%, which you'd like to see a lot more from your closer. Otherwise, it's going to leave guys on base, and all it takes a bloop and a blast, and you are in trouble yet again. So what's your thoughts on Jose Leclerc? If you're chasing saves, it made a ton of sense. If you weren't, maybe not.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it's tough because we've kind of seen who the pitcher he is, right? He's got an incredibly high walk rate for his career. Like you mentioned, 14.1% over the course of his career. So, you know, those blowups are very, very possible. At the same time, like he's pitching in some ways better than he ever has in his career, like at least from a walk standpoint. He's got the highest first pitch strike rate of his career. He's got the highest O swing of his career. That's always been his issue, is getting chases on pitches outside the zone. And so he's been more successful there, you know, second highest swinging strike rate of his career. And then I know I think last week was a little rough, but when I looked at him a couple weeks ago, he had a phenomenal last 15 stretch.
He's been really,
I'll take a look. I'll take a look right here. And then one thing that I'll mention is with the XFIP is, you know, he's a guy for his career, he has a 0.66 home runs per 9. So he's at least not going to give up homers, and XFIP normalizes home run per fly ball rate. So that's always going to be a little bit of an issue for him. You know, the Z contact's at 82.5% though, which is really good. You know, this is last 15. His K rate is at 36.9%. Same rate as his O swing is, you know, so both really good numbers. The walk rate is at 10.8%, which again is, you know, higher than you'd like it to be, but not as high as he has been. So you're talking about a 26% plus K minus walk, and then his swinging strike rate's at 18.2%. So we're starting to see a little bit of what we saw, you know, 2-3 years ago when he was looking at like potentially the next dominant closer. So very interesting, definitely at the top of my list in terms of potential save options this weekend. I got him in a couple places, and yeah, it was, you know, and yesterday he got a save.
Yep. And I don't think let me check. I had his page up here. I know the Rangers walked it off in the 9th tonight. He did not pitch.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, he didn't pitch though.
They didn't do it off. Did they do it off?
Oh, no. I don't remember if it was like Papio or something like that, I think.
Yeah, Piumps.
But Matthias' second homer of the game, he had a monster game. Boy, he likes himself a lefty. That's all I'm going to say. So good on him. All right, Pete Fairbanks picked up in 55 leagues as high as $25. The current closer of the Rays. I say current because it's usually a revolving door, but one thing I will say when it comes to the Rays, it seems like in recent years, late in season, they kind of find a guy and eventually just kind of stick with him. Not always, but he becomes like the 60 to 70% guy, where there still be some other guys that sneak in there compared to wide open throughout the season. And I think with Fairbanks, we've seen it time and time again. When healthy, strikeouts are there, ratios are there. He's a filthy reliever. So if he can get in the back end and get you some saves, that's great as well. If not, he's going to usually crush ratios and strikeouts for you in a big, big way. So I've had Fairbanks on a few teams for a while. Once he started getting some closing roles, I think people are catching on to that now, especially with the talk of people starting to realize how the last few weeks might play out. So guys like Fairbanks are going to be very, very valuable. And so I think this is a good move if you could snag him in certain leagues. What about you, Toby?
Oh yeah, he's been absolutely incredible. I mean, he's been maybe I haven't dug into Edwin Diaz recently, but he's been just absolutely lights out. Yeah, like his fastball is up about 2 miles per hour. I think we talked about him last week or the week before that. Swinging strike rate at 16%. His K minus walk is 38.8% for the season, right? So, and that we're at this point in the season, we're at 20 innings total pitched. He's got O swing of 42.3%, which is incredibly good. Z contact all the way down at 73.1%. He's got the highest first pitch strike rate of his career. He's got by far the lowest walk rate at 3%. I mean, he's been better since coming back from the injury this year and just been absolutely incredible. I was watching a broadcast over the weekend and they were talking about how he has the the lowest vertical drop in his four-seam fastball of any pitcher in all of baseball. So he's getting an incredible ride on that fastball to go with the slider and the changeup. He's just he's a beast right now, and I think he's going to really help some teams down the stretch here.
100% agree with you. I think he's going to be an absolute monster. So get your Fairbanks lock load. He's going to be very, very, very valuable down the stretch here. Dylan Floro. There's been like some very smart reliever people saying that he's the closer. He's going to be. The Marlins kept giving Tanner Scott the shot. It seems like it's now Dylan Floro's world. Picked up in 51 leagues as high as $18. Floro picked up the save over the weekend. He's got a win the night before that. Scott's still getting his love too, so it's not a full-on Floro thing. But Floro's looked pretty good of late. Hasn't a lot of run in about his last like 7 outings, it looks like. So people are starting to take some chances on some Dylan Floro, Toby.
Yeah, he was right behind Leclerc on my list of closers heading into the weekend, just because I think there was a little bit more certainty with Leclerc getting the save opportunity on, I think, Sunday it was, or Saturday. And then he also had just been run out there in that situation the last couple times. But for Floro, I think he's definitely the guy. I mean, just based on usage, they brought in, I think, Scott today. Maybe it was Scott in the 8th yesterday, or maybe Scott today. I can't remember where I saw his name on some game day or something like that. But Floro's been really good, 81.4% Z contact over his last 15. The K rate, which is always the issue with him, he can have really low K rates because of the sinker. 25% K rate right now over his last 15. Walk rates, respectable 7.8%. So pretty nice there. I mean, nothing to write home about, but definitely good enough. 12% swinging strike rate. So I think he's the closer. Maybe he scrounges together 3, 4, 5 saves over this last little bit, and that can definitely help some teams. So should be on that list of relievers people are going for if you're looking for saves.
Most definitely. First Reds name besides after Friedel so far here is
Jeez,
Kyle.
First one? God,
took a while. I figured it'd be like all at the top. It's taking some time here. Kyle Farmer picked up in 40 leagues as high as $15 since August 1st, hitting .295 with 4 home runs. Been a pesky, just good little hitter, and this is the perfect guy for a 9-game week to accumulate the average, get on base, score some runs. Made a ton of sense. He got some multi-position eligibility. Definitely a guy that if he was available, I was putting bids in. There's no question about it to see where I could plug Farmer in for the week. What about you?
Yeah, he wasn't available in any of my 15 teamers, but I have had him for most of the season in my super, where he's been really helpful. He's got that shortstop and third base eligibility now, which is really nice. So you can kind of move him around in all those infield spots, which is great. He provides the high batting average. He's playing nearly every day. The counting stats aren't bad for this year. Leaves a little bit to be desired with the power and the speed, but definitely a contributor and a guy you throw in there when you have 7 games in a week. So yeah, with the 9 games, he's nice. The one thing that I'd say is he seems to be the one guy outside of Donovan Solano, apologies, Bubba, where the Reds are kind of resting him a little bit more frequently than some of the other guys. They seem to be having Aquino, knock on wood, in the lineup pretty much every day now. They've been having Fraley in, at least against righties, every single day. So it's a pretty clear platoon there, although he was injured and he was hit by the pitch in the head. I'm hoping he's okay. Earlier today and was taken out and didn't start the second game. So, there's a lot of mouths to feed in that lineup. And I think he's, maybe playing 2 out of 3 at this point, 3 out of 4, something like that. So still definitely usable this week. We'll see moving forward, but he's one of those just kind of all around contributor guys.
100% agree. I'm going to skip Jose Suarez. We talked about him last week. I think he should have already been on teams by now. Sir Anthony Dominguez picked up in 38 leagues as high as $26. He returned on Sunday, picked up the hold in an innings pitched, 1K, no hits, perfect inning for Philadelphia. They've been kind of still rocky in the back end of the bullpen, so it looked like a guy like Sir Anthony could be very, very valuable down the stretch here. He was awesome before he got to the IL. I think people are just purely speculating. I know some people started adding him a week or so ago, but he's back now for good. Were you in Anthony?
Yeah, I was in on him. He's been really good. I was really hoping he was going to come back to the closer role like he had before he was injured, but they've been throwing Robertson out there the last 2 days for the save. And so, it's too bad. It's sad because he's pitched well since he's come back, which is nice. You want him to pitch well, but I really wish he could have gotten those 2 saves that he would have had a chance for. But Oh well, bummer.
Yep. Oh well, bummer. Here's another one of those 2-star pitchers.
Oh well, bummer. There's your analysis, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, he might still come in. Maybe they're just going to try to get him loose. Who knows? But another 2-stepper that makes you want to scratch your head. Luis Sessa was picked up in 38 leagues as high as $23. He had the Pittsburgh start tonight. We allowed 5 runs, and then he's got St. Louis on Sunday. So he was not on any of my bid lists at all.
Yeah, I will be guilty as charged in being interested in Sessa and 15-teamers. I didn't end up going there just because my ratios are too tight and I didn't want to take the risk. But he has pitched pretty well recently. Over his last 5 games, all starts. The Z contact isn't great at 88.6%, but his O swing is at 33.6%, so better than league average. His K rate is at 23.2%, so right around league average. His K rate was at 4.3%. So you're talking about a guy with close to a 20% K minus walk rate over his last 5 and a swinging strike rate at 10.1%. He's shown flashes of being really good, in the last couple seasons in different stretches. Today, he was looking good. He was through 3 clean and he kind of fell off. I didn't end up having him anywhere, but he was on some lists. Oh, actually, that's a lie. I think I started him in Barf, but my pitching is so good there that I can handle a couple blow ups. I just am trying to get wins and strikeouts at this point. So yeah.
No, fair enough. If you needed those kind of things, I get it. But I was just like, I don't want Great American Small Park. I'm not going there. Not doing it. Not going to be for me. But some people did like minor too, and that was even crazier in my book. Aristides Aquino, you mentioned the Punisher, picked up in 35 leagues as high as $27. 2-run home run on Monday night. You're basically getting home runs or bust these days, it feels like, from Aristides Aquino. So I'm assuming you were all in on him, or you were heavily invested in him this week. I'm assuming it was strictly because you wanted power.
Yeah, mostly. Aquino has been pretty good recently. I've had him off and on the last few weeks. Since coming back to the big leagues from the minors on August 2nd, he's cut his K rate to 32.5%. Still pretty high, but not god awful. His batting average is at 234 with a reasonable 313 BABIP. Last week he had 3 multi-hit games. He had 3 hits in 3 games last week. He has 4 of his 5 home runs this season have come in the last week. So again, like we've seen, he's capable of literally record-breaking home run streaks. And will that happen? Probably not. But if I'm going for home runs and RBI at this point in the season, I can't think of a better ad this week than Aquino and his 9 games, because he's playing pretty much every day at this point.
Fair enough. There's a bunch of other kind of like 30-ish league ads. The one I wanted to ask you about, and I was kind of surprised, all things considered, but maybe people are either giving up or they just realized, hey, I don't need this right now. Tristan Cassis gets the call up. Everyone's waiting for him all year long. He's only picked up in 31 leagues. He went for as high as $100 in one of them, but also as low as $1, because that's what we do this time of year. But only in 31 leagues. It's like, are people asleep at the wheel? Because I don't want to sound rude, but I'm not going to give like 120 leagues credit for being like, I don't need this player right now. So I'm just kind of confused on this one. So what was your thoughts on Casas this week? That maybe you don't have to comment on the fact no one added him, it seems like, but just if you wanted to add him.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's the struggles early on. Probably he hit a bomb off of Garrett Cole today, so I hate him even more.
Is Garrett Cole good? I'm curious.
No, he sucks. No, I mean, he's actually like turned it around. He has. And he's got the Pirates in his next start, so let's hope that goes well. But and he wasn't awful this time. Tristan Casas, yeah. I mean, it's true. We all waited for him. It is interesting though. I mean, it's like the difference between those guys like Young, where he hit a home run and had a steal, and he only played 2 games, versus a guy like Casas who had a full week to bat .095, and strike out a bunch. He didn't have a barrel before today. I don't know if his home run was a barrel or not, but.
Yeah, it was just surprising to me, because we see everyone flock like a moth to a flame for every prospect, and then just kind of scrolling through here, and I'm just like, how was he only added in 31 leagues? That is absolutely impressive. Really, really impressive stuff. But hey, that's what happens this time of year. You never know what's going to happen. So he was not drafted in all those leagues, trust me. So we'll have to wait and see. Well, Toby, let's go over our ads for the week, because
all right.
Otherwise we'll talk like Yohan Moncada, and I don't want to talk about Yohan Moncada, so we're good there.
Yeah. Here we go. Added Aristides Aquino, dropped Dermis Garcia, who went off today. $9 bid, $5 runner up. Added Jack Sawinski in his 8 games this week. Struck out 4 times today in the first game of that doubleheader. Dropped JD Davis a 7 and 3. Added Jose Barrero. Dropped Colton Wong 2 and 1. This is a 15-teamer. But yeah, Barrero's got 9 too, and he's playing pretty much every day. And you're hoping you get a home run and a steal maybe over the course of the week. Brian Abreu, added him, dropped Nick Martinez, added James McCann, dropped Victor Caratini, added Carl Edwards Jr., dropped Jonathan Loaisiga. So just hoping for, the possibility of a save there with Edwards Jr. now that Finnegan has been, relegated to like 6th inning duty. With McCann, it was simply he's playing every other day. He didn't play on Sunday, so he's going to play probably Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. So he'll get 4 games. Caratini's only got the 5. He did end up playing today, but you're probably getting 2 games out of him, would be my guess, maybe 3 this week. So I went with the kind of volume play there, and the Mets have a really nice schedule. Added Bailey Ober, dropped John Schreiber, $12 bid, $1 runner up. Ober is supposed to pitch as part of a doubleheader on Thursday, I think, or no, Saturday, against the Guardians. So yeah, kind of looking at everything, I had Ober higher than Hunter Brown. Ober wasn't great earlier in the year, but he's looked good pitching through the minors. It's obviously the minors, but he's had success throughout his major league career. So I went with that one. We'll see how it plays out. Aristides Aquino, added him, dropped Sean Bouchard, which was a disappointment. He was playing 2 weeks ago, and then pretty much, I think he only got 2 games the following week. So was just sitting there on benches. Added Garrett Cooper in his 8 games. Dropped Jace Peterson, a bit of 8, and a 3 runner up. The Marlins did put together a pretty good second game yesterday, and all of the guys that I had picked up hit, which was really nice. Chavis has had a good start to the week as well. Good. No bombs, but plenty of hits and runs and a few RBI too. Added him, dropped Nick Madrigal 6 and 1. And this is you can just kind of see with some of these leagues, it's like, if you can bid in those multi-dollar bids, you're in pretty good shape. Added Jose Barrero, dropped Victor Caratini. Next one is a main of mine. Added Garrett Cooper, dropped Sean Bouchard 6-4. Added Brian Anderson, dropped Byron Buxton. Buxton got the dreaded, we think he's going to play at some point in the regular season. The Twins are pretty far back at this point. I think they're 5 games or 4 games out of first. I would say that their chance of winning is less than 10%, of getting into the playoffs is less than 10% at this juncture. Because they've got to win the division in order to make the playoffs at this point. So yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't know why they would push him a little bit, which is sad. It ends up being kind of a disappointing season a little bit for Buxton when you combine the average and the lack of steals. Added Jose Leclerc, dropped Jonathan Loaisiga. Added Jose Barrero, dropped Willie Castro. Added Michael Fulmer, dropped Eric Lauer. Lauer's on the 15-day IL. I think he is scheduled to come back. Let's see. No, they don't even have him on the docket for next week. So just move on. He's
MIA.
Yeah. He honestly, he hasn't been good since, earlier on in the season, he hasn't really been trustworthy. And then another main, I added Aristides Aquino, dropped Ezekiel Duran 9-6, Duran being a loss and the Young being promoted. I added Tyler Naquin. I have high hopes for him this week. He has 7 games against right-handed pitchers, and so was really hopeful, but didn't play today. Got pinch hit yesterday, so that may not be as much of a boon as I was hoping it would be. But they do have the Cubs and the Pirates, so all it takes is 1 game, right? Dropped Jace Peterson in that case 6-4. Added Brian Anderson. He's got the 8 games, and he Hopefully he puts something together this year. 2-1, dropped JD Davis, added Eric Haas, which I was super excited about.
Yeah.
He's playing virtually not every day, but like 2 out of 3
close.
at this point as a catcher. Yeah, he's hitting cleanup in some games. Two and dropped 1 backup, dropped Victor Caratini, added Dylan Floro, dropped Jonathan Loaisiga. Then in my 12-teamer, my OC, where I'm making a little bit of a run, I was like dominating that league, like crushing it. I got into the top 20 overall, and now I'm like, I don't know, 300th or something. My team's just faded. But this one was funny. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bids total for the league. 7 of them were me. Added Trevor Rogers, dropped Jimmy Herget, $6 to runner-up. Added Jose Leclerc, dropped Luis Urias, $2 bid, 0 runner-up. Added TJ Friedel, dropped Byron Buxton. Added Spencer Steer, dropped Keston Hiura. Added Garrett Cooper, dropped Jonathan Hernandez. Added Aristides Aquino, dropped Freddie Peralta. Added Pete Fairbanks, dropped Emmanuel Rivera. So we'll see. I'm trying to put together a run. My ratios have been the issue. This is the one league where it was a 12-teamer, and I was like, I didn't really skimp on pitching, but I decided to quote unquote diversify and not get Dylan Cease in this league and get Freddie Peralta instead. And that is probably the difference between a really, really good team and what my team is now, which is unfortunate. TGFBI added Craig Kimbrell for 7, $2 backup, dropped John Schreiber. Kimbrell's god awful. I hate having him on my team, but my pitching is so good in this league as well. And I'm not just saying that, like, my pitching isn't great across the board. It's just like in TGFBI and BARF, it's just lights out. So I can handle whatever he throws at it ratio-wise. Added Aristides Aquino, dropped Byron Buxton. Added Tyler Naquin, dropped Emmanuel Rivera. Added Sir Anthony Domingos, dropped Rafael Montero, sad face. Added Brian Anderson, dropped Eric Lauer. And then in BARF, we have added Luis Sessa. Don't make fun of me, Bubba. Dropped Eric Lauer. Added Rich Hill. Dropped Nick Martinez. Added Aristides Aquino. Dropped Sean Bouchard. Added Yandy Diaz. Dropped Zach Wheeler. Added Dylan Floro. Dropped Giovanni Gallegos. Added Miguel Rojas. Dropped Ezekiel
Duran.
Hernandez.
Rivera.
Kike Hernandez.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And just so people don't go like dropping. I mean, Wheeler's fine because he's injured. You never know what's going to happen. But in this league, I have my ratios are, actually, 3.275 ERA, which is first in the league by 0.07, and then a 3.10 whip, which is first by 0.037. So I can kind of add as many innings as possible to boost up my Ks, which I'm 5th in the league in Ks, but I'm within 20 of second place. So I'm just trying to, do the best I can there.
It's all good. I get it. And if people are, people might, I know some people do like when we go over our news, they've asked us to make sure we do it. And sometimes we forgot it. One thing that I listen to besides just who's Toby's picking because he's very intelligent. But if you listen to the things we talk about throughout the weeks about maximizing things, if you listen to what Toby was doing with a lot of those, it was adding Marlins, dropping Brewers. Like there's a trend here of what he's been doing the last few weeks. So you can pay attention to that and you'll see where he's kind of going. Like Jeff Peterson, most people wouldn't add. He was great last week in that extra schedule of Colorado and stuff. Then you could drop him. Very simple stuff. You add Cooper, Anderson, he'll probably drop one, if not both of those guys next week. It's just going to be like a rinse and repeat thing, but just something to listen to besides just the names. Like there's a pattern to what's going on in this process. So rinse and repeat type stuff. All right, for myself, let's start with first OC. I got Friedel, dropped Joey Gallo, 12-7. Grabbed Donovan Solano, dropped Trent Grisham 3-0. And the reason, I'm going to give you my Solano take right now. And maybe it was just a messed up schedule and guys were hurt or something, and maybe I just wasn't paying that close attention. But from the 6th to the 12th, he started in every single, or the 6th to the 11th, started every single game that week. Then he played the 2nd and the 4th. So from like the 2nd on, he missed like 2 whole games. I'm like, I can live with that on a 9-game week. I'll give me 6 or 7 games. I'm cool. Like, let's do it. And when I started seeing that, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, this is not what I signed up for. Because I looked into it. I'm like, they weren't all lefties he was facing. It wasn't anything like that. It was he was starting every day. He was playing all over the diamond. That's why he's got multi-eligibility. First base. It was mainly first base that week. But he's been playing everywhere for the Reds. So that one's going to sting if it keeps going that week. That's Not happy about that one. Next OC here, we got Donovan Solano again, dropped Alec Thomas, Kyle Farmer, added Farmer, dropped Jesse Winker, finally moved on from that one. Then I added Tanner Scott, dropped Justin Steele for a just because I'm adding relievers that will work late in the game at this point in time. I'm not as worried about saves. I was just waterfalling it. Tanner Scott, we'll see where that one plays out when everything's all said and done. The next OC we have here, Donovan Solano for $1. But then I was happy with this one. Brian Bayo for $1 dropped Justin Steele. Bayo has looked very, very good since returning from the minor leagues. Strikeouts have been much better. Still the occasional walk issue, but not as bad. Looked much, much better though. So I know it's the Yankees this week, which worries me, but I'm willing to see where I'm worried about the Yankees. I don't even know. I have to check. I even started him, to be honest. I think it was more like, hey, I got $1. I'm going to use him for the upcoming weeks because he can rack up the Ks in a big, big way. The next three.
Bubba.
Yeah. Yes.
Breaking news.
Did Donovan Solano? No. What?
No. Scott Genstead is number 1 in the main overall.
I had a boy, Scotty.
Nice. Yeah. Friend of the pod.
Awesome. Yeah. Good for him. Go get him, Scott. Go get him. If Ben Tidd can't win, give it to Scott.
Yeah, Ben's in third now.
There we go.
A lot of friends of the pod, honestly. I mean, we got Steve Weimer, 2 in the top 6. Steve, good friend, great player. Ben's up there. Big Bucks Bob is in second now. Scott Genstead, number 1. I mean, that would be just an incredible accomplishment for Scott, which is fantastic. I mean, there's a lot of really great players up there at the top. And Ned Donahue, who's a really good player, beat me last year in the Super. He finished first and second. So sorry to interrupt. I just I saw that somebody tweeted that out.
Yeah, he's a lot of good friends, like you said. It's one of those things. They're all good players, obviously, but to have someone like you kind of know and appreciate, and like it's more than just, hey, you're a good player, like a good person. We can support that. So go get him. And then my last OC, I got Friedel, dropped Shea Langoliers 6-1. We'll go to the OCQ that I have money left in. Eric Haas dropped Langoliers 4-1. Solano, Farmer. So you're catching a trend. I didn't have a ton of money anywhere, so there's a lot of just throwing darts at bids. Barf League, Friedel dropped Derek Hall 9-8. The whole Derek Hall thing confuses me. It really does. He was not that bad. Tyler Naquin dropped Emmanuel Rivera 3-2. So I was kind of happy both those bids just snuck them through in Barf. And then TGFBI got Fairbank, dropped Patino 26-21. Grabbed Solano, grabbed Brian Bayo, dropped Rowan Wick. So a lot of the same stuff, but money is quickly disappearing, Toby. So we'll see how this one plays out the rest of the way. All right, let's do questions. Dun, dun, dun. All right. Larry Cardoso asks, playoff, and this is where it gets fun this time of year. Would you rather go with Corbin Carroll of Arizona or Teoscar Hernandez of the Jays?
Oh, for right now?
For the rest of the season.
For the rest of the season, I'd go Teoscar pretty easily.
Still go Teoscar. Don't let the prospect pedigree fog you.
Carroll, I mean, he's not playing every day. He's sitting against lefties, I think. They're really using him, and we should check in where he's at. I know he's hit his first home run.
He's got a couple homers now.
He's got a couple homers.
Yeah.
But let's see what we got still. Let's see what we got from Corbin Carroll. 275, 2 homers, 7 runs, 8 RBI. He's 0 for 1 in steals, so he's not really stealing. Ground ball rate still at 56%. So he's kind of being dominated a little bit in that sense. Even with his 2 home runs, he's got a 40% home run per fly ball, 75% contact rate. Yeah, I mean, Teoscar could absolutely mash. And the Jays are in it. He's going to play every day that he possibly can. So I'd easily go with him.
Yeah, no, it's still Teoscar. Corbin's awesome. It's fun, but let's not cloud the judgment here. Dave Pitt,
and Teoscar is the example of like a guy that would be really good next year. He's a guy who was going in the 3rd round this year, 3rd, 4th round this year after last year. And next year he'll probably go in the, 6th round or something like that. but then when you kind of dive into the numbers a little bit, he's hitting 264. That's not bad. That's still good. He's been consistent in where his BABIP is. The strikeout rate is a little bit higher than usual. That contact rate is lower than last year, but it's still up. It's still like right around where he was for his career. And at a 30% rate, you're not that worried there. And he's still got 20 home runs and 6 steals in 452 plate appearances. So, that's like 25 home runs, 8 steals, something like that. That's nothing shabby. And, again, like it's been a little bit of a down year across the board for a lot of Blue Jays, and that's kind of impacted everybody. So I he's the type of guy who's still young enough. What is he, 30? Yeah, he's 29, where I think he's still got a little bit of legs in him.
Yeah, I like the way he's finishing the season after that slow start. There's a lot to like with. Makes me feel a little more confident going through that for sure. Dave Petroziello says we kind of early. Do you think Houston keeps Hunter Brown in the rotation? Got me up in a couple starts tonight. That guy might be a March riser in big draft if he's going to be in the rotation. Yeah, we kind of hit on that earlier, right, Toby?
Yeah, I think, whether it's in the rotation or not, I'm not sure. You mentioned this about how, maybe they just go to the six-man rotation to save some arms, because it's not like they're really, in it too much, although there will be, I don't know where they are in the competition for best overall record, and that will matter for sure in terms of home field advantage. So teams will be playing for that. But let's see, how many innings has he thrown this year? He's thrown 106 innings, so 112 innings. The max he's been at before is 100 in a season. So I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe had him throw like 3-4 innings, or used him in the bullpen or something like that, to preserve that arm a bit, maybe have it play up in the bullpen a little. So, again, he could be really good, but there are question marks about what the best role for him, or what the role they'll use him in, is.
Yeah, that's just the tricky part. Like, it's not the talent that's the question. It's where's he going to be? He'll probably have a nice role. Like I could see him doing the total, like what we saw McCullers do in recent years in the playoffs for him. Like Brown could be that 2 or 3 inning reliever. Like you could see it in a heartbeat. The Astros do that in a very, very good way. So they're going to keep using him this year. It's like we talked about John Gray and stuff. Is will he get enough innings? Who's he pick? Like he could easily piggyback with McCullers or one of these other like Garcias or Javier's that haven't been super deep like type guys. So it's going to come down to, is it going to be viable for what your team needs? And that's the tough part of this time of year. That's why, like I said, I even grabbed the Tanner Scott. It might be stupid. I might drop him next week, but I'm just grabbing late inning arms that are getting stuff done for the most part around baseball. That's what I'm starting to try to stockpile for the last like week and a half of the season. That's where my brain's at, but my team needs are different than other teams. So we'll see where that goes. All right, Toby, that'll do it. We had 2 listener questions. Everyone's on the football season. Everyone's kind of wrapping up the interest of the season here, but we're going to keep grinding on, Toby, as you got some titles to win. I got pride to finish as high as I can. We got stuff to do. So final thoughts, as we have about, I think, 3 FAAB periods to go.
3 FAAB periods to go. My God. I can't wait to not do FAAB anymore, Bubba. That's what I'm looking forward to. But the last few weeks of the season should be good. I took off the last week. The last day of the season is Wednesday, October 5th. Oh, is my volume gone? Oh, no. Did it just go out? It waited till the very end? Holy cow. What happened? Can you hear me now? Ugh. Just cut it. Just end it.